Hiya, I hope you're keeping well. Today I'm going to go for some eyeshadow tips, in particular kind of how to create that effect when it gets a bit darker in the outer corners and then out into a nice soft blend. So if you have a palette and you want to go and grab it and work along with me, absolutely do that. To save a bit of time, I've got my base on. All I've done on my eyelids is taken foundation over them as a bit of a prep, but I haven't used a special primer or anything. So in particular with your brushes, keep in mind something really fluffy and something a bit smaller and denser when we're doing this. And then to do this kind of look, I'm actually going to use Jamie Genevieve's new makeup palette. I've got a few bits of hers. This is going to be a bit of a first impressions as well as a tutorial. But I'm going to start on a fluffy brush with a kind of soft brown. I feel like if you keep up with these videos, you're probably thinking, will I ever put anything else in the socket? But the reason I like to do this is I really think it helps you to find your bearings before you decide what else you're going to do. So first of all, really softly. There is never a peep out of my cat, honestly. And I can hear her making a bit of scratching or noise over here. I sit at the table to do these videos and she sits on one of the chairs with me. So, oh, she's gone back to sleep now, whatever she was doing. And I'm terrified of spiders, so I get paranoid. Has she found something to play with that's gonna expect to start playing with me in a minute? Give me a complete meltdown. Anyway, I'm taking a soft brown through the socket and I'm going to have to distract myself because I will have to stop doing the video. Now you'll notice I'm taking this above the natural crease of my eye. So if you're looking to kind of elongate or widen or just really make a larger impression of your eye, don't worry about colouring inside the lines, go above them, make it bigger, go that bit further, whatever it is. Now looking into my mirror, that looks perfect, but looking straight ahead, we don't look even. So again, I would always invite you to have a real remember of looking forward on. That doesn't even make any sense, but anyway. Remember to look forward on. It's probably what I was going for there. And just keep matching up to check that they're even. Now what I'm going to do, I've already got my liner on. I'm going to take that little smudgy brush and I'm going to take a shade a little bit deeper than this. It's like a chocolatey brown, and I'm going to tickle that right the way under this lash line. Now I actually have quite a deep crease under my eyes. I'm going to try and avoid that if possible, because once the shadow falls into that, it drops it loads of centimetres. So I'm going to take it across, trying to avoid that crease. And again, I feel like we all have these little parts of our anatomy that we learn about and learn to work with. I've learned from multiple trial and error that once my shadow falls into that area, there's no going back. So that's the great thing about having a little experiment with what you've got at home and always having a play. You'll learn these things so that by the time you've got somewhere lovely to go or something you want to feel really special for, you've already done that trial and error and you won't make that mistake on the night. So, as you can see, I'm now tracing this a little bit back across the lid. And what I'm basically doing is putting a template in place that I've got this soft brown through the socket. And then as I go further towards this lid, it's going to get deeper. Now you'll notice I've left the lids themselves clean. I'm actually going to take kind of a golden shimmer shade. This is all from, I should be showing you these colours. Let me just do a recap. I've gone in with this through the socket. This has gone under the waterline. This shimmer, I'm going to take in these inner corners. I'm going to leave the lid for a moment. And I may actually, oh, that is lovely. Looks almost kind of foiled. I'm going to leave that fresh for now. And I'll see how far in I want to take these darker colours when I get my lid colour on. But what I'm doing is I'm getting all my matte shades in place before I go anywhere near the shimmers. So I had a brush to hand there that I was desperate to use. Here we go. I'm going to take a slightly smaller clean blending brush, and I've got that brown from underneath in the outer corners. I'm now going to really gently take this through the socket. Now, one of the things that has always been like part of my makeup that I have to remember and I always forget, so I'm saying this to you in terms of if there's a tip that I always forget, it's this one. So I'm not preaching to you, I'm reminding you not to do something that I always do. Again, don't feel obliged to follow the lines. I'm actually going a little bit further out and upwards than where the natural creases in my eye are, and that's because I want to make everything look bigger. That's lopsided, I'm not going to worry about that. I can deal with that in a moment. For now, I'm delighted at how this side has come out, so I'm just going to worry about feeling pleased with that. And then having a look here, this side needs to come up and out a little bit. So looking forward on, I'm going to do what I can from here to straighten that out. There comes a point, for me it's right now, when you need a clean brush to sort what's happened. Not a problem. I'm going to take a completely clean brush, soften the edges of this a minute, because what have I done? And it is all going to be okay in a minute. So already that looks a bit better. And then once that's softened out a little bit, I can go back and correct it. I'm also going to go back with my original soft brown and retrace that ever so slightly so that we don't lose the fade between the soft brown, the mid brown and the lid. I'm going to do the same on this side. And you know what? You do want all of this to blend and everything, but I feel like after a certain point, if you've got nice velvety shadows, even if it's not absolutely immaculate, you get the gist and it looks lovely. And that is what's happened here. If Jamie sees this, she's going to be like, what, like how many little mistakes did you have to make? But do you know what? You can tell it's the sign of a good palette. Look how easily that was resolved. So I've got my soft brown, I've got my middle brown, I'm going in with a deeper brown. I'm going to take the same shadow brush, wipe any excess off. I used this one, I used this one. Having a look actually for the deepest, I'm going to go in with the black. This is called Good Night. Now, I'm going to take this in the smallest little areas. I'm going to literally just go right next to this lash line and in this outer corner. And actually, even the tiniest bit of this black, you'll cheat the illusion that you've worked more black into the makeup when you see the blend of how they all go into one another. Now, I am conscious of the time. I definitely want to get a lip on. I need to finish off these eyes, get some liner on, so I'm going to get a move on. But what I'm going to do here, I'm getting this black over the lids. I'm going to go in with a tiny bit of that soft brown to just make sure that it all looks smudgy. And it makes such a difference. And I'm going in with the steadiest, softest hand. I'm barely pressing any colour onto those lids, but you wouldn't believe the difference it makes. Now, lid-wise, I tried a bit of this on my hand earlier, unreal. For your shimmers, more often than not, you'll find it's much better to go in with your finger and just press them on. I've picked up a lot there. I'm going to pack off any excess and literally just press that onto your lid. I don't want any drop down, especially because I've already done my base. I'm literally working that in with the ring finger and it's on and it looks lovely. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Your finger is great, not only for shimmers and things to prevent drop down, But also sometimes the texture of a shimmer is so light that if you picked it up with a brush, it looks wishy-washy and not there. Whereas your finger can really pack it on with a great density. Now, I'm going to go in with a brown liner. This is the Peaches and Cream Memphis. Now, these are really creamy and they don't tug. So it's going to glide really well over, you know, shadows and glitters and things like that. Because you do find that if you're going in with a really dry liner over a glitter, it just dries out quite quickly and it won't pull across the pigment. But this is going to just glide over everything really nicely. Just work it into that black. Lovely. I love using a brown, personally. I just think you get all of the definition, but it's just a tiny bit softer. And also the warmth of it just means whether you've got blue eyes, green, brown, whatever colour, it will really make them pop. Okay, we've got 4 minutes. I need to get a move on. Anything like this, I just think put absolutely loads of mascara on. And when you think you've got enough mascara on, go in with another layer. And I know that sounds, you know, oh, for God's sake, but honestly, it makes such a difference. This is the NARS Climax Extreme Mascara. Now, I've been making a point through these videos over the last few months of like mixing and matching which mascara I use, because there's so many new mascara launches, I can't even get my head around it. But I would say of the new launches this year, the Climax Extreme is the best one. For me, I think another point I've made previously in videos, it all depends what you're looking for from your mascara. I like volume, length, definition, something quite chunky. This will be for you. If you want something much softer, separation, length, you'd prefer the red one of these, whereas I much prefer this one. So I think it just depends. We've all got different tastes, haven't we? Okay, mascara's on, lovely. I'm going to go in now with Jamie's Lippy and Lip Liner. Nice little peachy brown. I'm going to draw my lips on nice and big first because, you know, why not? This is a lovely kind of browny tone lippy. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah. Gonna go slightly above. Slightly, hilarious, very above my lip line. And even them up. My lips are asymmetric anyway, so it's always anyone's guess what they're going to turn out looking like. No. I want to really make sure you can see that liner because the lippy is paler than it, and I love that. I just love that finish. So there we go. Nice and retro, love it. And then I just thought I would quickly show you, really quickly, one of the things that really struck me as the first impressions of this palette is that it's enormous, and it's really quite difficult to show you that when you're just looking at it through a screen. So I brought in a couple of comparisons. Now, the two palettes I'm going to show you, I love, they're two of my favourite palettes. So I'm not saying this like, oh, look how rubbish this is compared to this one. These are brilliant palettes, and that's why I've bought them as reference points. But like, here is the Vieve Cocoa Blend. I was thinking then, what's the name of it? Beautiful palette, I love it, really good value. Look at the size of Jamie's pans compared to that, absolutely huge. Another palette that I really love that came out this summer is, it's called Extreme Effect. It's a NARS one. I know I used it in a few videos, and actually I spoke to quite a few people that ended up treating themselves to this one. Look at the size of that. I'm always trying to cover the mirror so you can't see the absolute state of my desk. Look at the size of the pans in comparison. Really big. I'm learning all about the Jamie stuff tonight, so I will report back. But yeah, so far, love it. Anyway, take care.